AM 1220 KHTS, HometownStation.com. We're continuing our discussion about local lawsuits that have been filed here in Santa Clarita as they pertain to the California Voting Rights Act. And we're in studio right now with the attorney for the plaintiffs in some of the suits. Are you the attorney for the plaintiff in all the suits?
Yes.
Kevin? Kevin Shenkman is our guest, also concerned citizen, local voter, on-air maverick, I don't know what else to call him, Joe Messina, here on your hometown station. He is a concerned citizen today only and not representing the Hart School Board in any way. Also leading the discussion is KHTS's Perry Smith. We have a caller. We're going to get to our caller in just a few moments who has a question, but Perry, you wanted to wrap up what we were talking about before, right?
Kevin, you were in the middle of kind of explaining to me that the districting and the remedies, and I wanted you to go a little bit further about that so you had every kind of opportunity to lay that out there for people.
Sure. I think hopefully I've put everything out there about some of the available remedies, and we were talking a little bit about some of the advantages to district-based systems. There are advantages to at-large elections as well, governments can be functional or dysfunctional in either system. We talked a little bit about Detroit earlier. That's an at-large system, and I don't think anyone would claim that that's not dysfunctional. So it's not districts at large. It doesn't solve all the problems of a city, but what it does do, the district-based system, it prevents a minority population from not having any representation in their city government and feeling like they don't have any representation in their city government, which is a huge problem for democracy.
And access to the system being in the form of, you were saying, district elections are much cheaper and therefore easier to run a campaign for, and therefore going to get more candidates of a
Sure.
protected class.
Santa Clarita, we're talking about a city of a little bit over 200,000 people. If you were to divide that into 5 equal population districts, we're talking about 40,000 people now. You can go out and shake hands with 40,000 people. You can't do that with 200,000. You can send out mailers to 40,000 people and in a cost-effective way. 200,000 obviously costs a whole lot more.
Or if you're... Okay, Joe.
I'm laughing. Are you going to give me your checkbook? Because 40,000 people sending out mailers is a lot. And again,
it's less than 200,000.
The differences and the nuances here of, the suits have been brought against, is COC included?
Yes.
Or so you have COC that actually goes down into the San Fernando Valley into the LA area, so they're going to really have a big area to have to deal with. Then you're going to have the city council, which does not go to 200,000, it goes a little over 100,000 people. And then on top of that, when you talk about breaking that up, right, so that's a whole different issue. And then you've got the school board, Sulphur Springs, right?
Yep.
And so you're talking about, I don't know what they have, I don't even think it's 20,000.
Are we talking about voters or population?
Well, how are you going to break the population up into districts for Sulphur Springs when they don't serve the population?
You mean they serve the...
They only serve...
They serve the children, or what? I don't get what you're saying.
They don't serve the children of the valley. They serve the children of a district. That's why they're called the Sulphur Springs District. It's a little district in the valley as a whole. So you have to break that district up, or are you talking about making generic districts in this whole valley and everybody has to adhere to those 5 districts or so? Is that what you're talking about?
That's one solution, is a district-based system.
It would never work with the elementary schools. How?
Just like it would work in anywhere. I mean, you could say the same thing about the state of California.
No, you can't.
It's one big thing. That's divided by districts too. They're called cities.
So
counties.
Sulphur Springs is included in District 1, we'll say, right? Or you have seats 1 through 5, correct?
For what? For the city
Sulphur
council?
Springs School District.
Okay.
But you're lumping all this whole conversation is being lumped around districts for the whole valley. You would have to have districts set up for each school district, and then districts set up for the bigger school district, and then districts set up for the water boards, because they don't handle all parts of the valley, just like the school districts don't. And then you'd have the city council, you'd have to have districts there, but they don't handle some of the places that the school boards handle.
Well, that's essentially what we're talking about is smaller districts to increase access, but then I think Joe brings up a valid point, that at what point do the districts get so small, or do you need to keep redistricting every time you hit a mark, or how do you determine that?
That's not my point.
Okay.
You're talking about this little district, okay, of Sulphur Springs. And
it's 56,000 people, 30% Latino.
No disrespect meant to Sulphur Springs, but you got the little district there. So let's just say the Santa Clarita Valley doesn't exist. It's just Sulphur Springs. So we break them up into 5. They have 5 seats. You're saying 5 districts. That would be the norm, correct?
5 single-member districts, sure.
Right,
And
okay.
each one would have about 11,200 people in it, which is not a small population.
No, but
that's larger than a lot of cities.
But my point is, you're talking about creating 5 districts for them, and then 5 districts for Saugus, and then 5 districts for the other one. And then
We haven't sued Saugus. We haven't sued the Hart School
I
District.
get, but we are so integrated and
Hopefully we
entwined
don't
with
need
each
to.
other. We are so integrated and entwined with each other. Are you going to leave the mess up to the rest of us? Is that what you're saying? Because to tie everybody
is this
together,
mess that you're referring to?
Because we all integrate with each other, right? You know how closely the school districts work together, along with the city council and what have you. So now you've got Sulphur Springs, which will be on. What do you call it, on districting. And let's say you have Saugus, that won't be. They're going to be able to be at large because they have Hispanics on their board. They get Hispanics voted on there, so they're cool. How do we support, or how does Saugus Union support and work with Sulphur Springs when you've got kids moving back and forth between the 2 districts or up into the Hart District? Do you know what I'm saying?
No, because what we're talking about is the board of trustees of those
Right.
school districts and the council members of the city council. We're not talking about breaking it up into separate school districts.
But you have 5 districts for the city council, right? Are you thinking that those 5 districts are what every other school district will use?
No.
So then every other school district has to, or the ones that you're suing at the moment, will have to break into 5.
Well, hopefully we don't need to sue the Hart School District, Joe.
So what happens if Gloria Mercado Fortine moves on to the city council?
The Gloria Mercado Fortine does not determine what we do.
And just so we can, if we have a caller on the air and I want to get to their
forgot about
question.
Yeah, this is going to something that Perry was actually going to be bringing up anyway. I don't want to get stuck in kind of the morass of this.
Okay.
We're running short on time. We got about 5 minutes left
Sorry,
in the
go
hour.
ahead.
So it's okay. But we have a caller, Steve, on the line who wanted to ask a question pertaining to, I think, one of the people that was mentioned in the suit. Steve, go ahead.
Hey, Joe, do you have your delay button ready?
No. So be nice,
Okay.
Steve.
Hey, well, you know what? I'm really concerned that this is really a civil wrong dressed up as a civil right, and that it's just going to put money in Kevin's pocket. But more to the point, I think that you, Joe, have just conceded way too many points to this guy sitting across the table from you there. In the lawsuit, he alleges that the Michael Cruz 2006 city council election was an example of polarized voting. I was here in 2006. Were you here in 2006, Joe?
Yes.
What was the Michael Cruz election racially polarizing in this city?
I don't believe it was at all.
Have you looked at the official documents on file with the city of Santa Clarita for the Michael Cruz campaign?
No. Why would I?
Do you want to know who funded? Look at the names. There's not a single Latino, Hispanic name on any of those forms except Michael Cruz. Who donated money to Michael Cruz? Look at his campaign statement. There is nothing in there that is more plain vanilla of a candidate than Michael Cruz's statement of candidacy.
All right, Steve, thank you for the question. We've only got 4 minutes. I want to give the people a chance to respond. And Kevin, I want to have you a chance, give you a chance to respond to that. Michael Cruz being mentioned in the lawsuit, he thinks that it was not racially polarizing. Talk to me about that.
Yeah, you know, numbers don't lie. The courts look at statistics, not what Steve and Joe have to say about what their feeling is about how the election turned out. You know, we will need to put up those statistics. We have those statistics. We've looked at that election, and we're comfortable that Michael Cruz's candidacy was racially polarized. He did much better among Latinos than he did in the rest of the population.
And what about the claim that the people that donated to his campaign don't have ethnic sounding or looking last names?
Well, I'll just throw this in there. I mean, it's impossible to prove this based on their surnames that I'm looking at, but we have a Rhonda Castillo and another Cruz, which may or may not be related to Michael. I don't know that, but it looks like there are 3
So Perry
out of 12
has
contributors. I'm looking at
the
the list
contributors.
of contributors, and it looks like there's 3 out of about 12 or 13 supporters who donated money for
Well, I would
Cruz.
hope his sister donated or his mother, because that would...
We've got 2 minutes now. Do you want to just kind of each kind of give your final thoughts in 60 seconds, and we'll just kind of cut it loose and wrap it up? Joe, why don't you start?
You know what, I would just say I am, as you know, for 3 years, I am much irritated at this one-size-fits-all. These kind of laws that come down that are pushed on school boards and communities. This community does well. It's got great schools. It's got great water boards. The city council does some great things. We are one of the only fiscally solvent cities in the state. This city runs well. Crime is low. So to basically come in here and say that we're not giving a certain protected group the ability for their people, I mean, think about these words, their people to get elected. I think it's wrong. Their people have been elected, their people will continue to be elected, and when they get the right person, you'll have the other non-protected class helping them to get voted in.
Kevin?
I would just finish with the law is the law, and cities have to follow the law, just like all of us. Right now, Santa Clarita is violating the law, and that's why we brought these cases. You know, you can certainly have a debate about how well the city is run or how poorly it's run, but that's really quite irrelevant. The city, you know, you could certainly run a city effectively without having elections at all. You could simply have a city manager, hire a staff, and they could run the city. They might even do it better than a city council. But the law requires elections, and the law requires that elections be a particular way.
I want to thank both of you guys for coming on and having this discussion, Joe and Kevin, and Jason for running things.
No, Perry, thank you for coming up with the questions and asking them. Thank you, gentlemen, for having a nice kind of respectful discussion. We appreciate it.